for a while now, and just excited to hear what God did, how God answered prayers. So they have basically said they want to run the whole evening. So I am just overjoyed that they are going to handle everything for us tonight. There will be a time for question and answer at the end, and we're going to close our night by praying together once again for Milan, for Veritas Church, and for our missionaries, the Joneses. So I'm going to go ahead and just start us off in prayer, and then I'll hand everything over to Matt. So would you pray with me? Father God, we are thankful, God, for the reminder this morning of the Great Commission and your call in each one of our lives, in our church family, our life together, to be about your business in this world, to be about gospel ministry. And Lord, thank you that you are wise in calling each one of us together into this body, this family of faith that we have at Kentwood Baptist Church. And Lord, you've made each one of us differently, with different gifts and talents and different desires and passions in our lives. And Lord, when Christ is central to each one of us, and when your mission of the gospel unto this world is our mission, Lord, you unite us and you unify your church, and you use our gifts together to make us whole. Lord, to make us strong, to show this world the reality of Jesus Christ and his love for us. And Lord, we get to shed it abroad, even unto Milan, Italy. So Lord, thank you for your grace in allowing us to partner with the Joneses and the church plant work that has been going on there for many years. Thank you for your grace in allowing us to send a few from our church family to go, to represent us, to serve, and God, to better connect us with Veritas Church. So Lord, I pray for them as they share tonight. Use them, challenge us, and again, may we desire more and more and more to honor and glorify your name through gospel ministry, through missions. It's for the glory of Christ we do ask and pray all these things. Amen.
All right, good evening. So first we're going to give you a little glimpse of kind of where exactly in Italy we were. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Italy. I know we've talked about being in Milan, but we're actually outside of Milan a little bit. You can't hear me? Well, turn it up. Milan, up here north side of Italy, on the left picture here. And then we were actually, the church that they're building is in Rossano down here, and then they live in Zibido San Giacomo. It's about 10 minutes from the church, so very close. The church is this building in the back here. It used to be a nightclub / recording studio, then sat vacant for about 5 years until they bought it and start renovating it. It is on a very, can't see it, but back down this road is the train station, bus station area. So this is a very heavily traveled by foot area right here. A couple other pictures. You see a lot of graffiti on the outside, just really beat up and weathered. This picture is actually just from a week ago, where they started painting the outside. A lot of work was done by our groups on these windows up here. So this picture is very, I think, important to myself and the rest of the team. These three individuals, you have Aaliyah, Mario, and Rosario. They're all retired individuals. Mario and Rosario are both concrete workers that are retired, and then Aaliyah is a metal fabrication builder. It died. They all attend the church. They all probably work 50 plus hours on building this church. So they've been a big help to Keith and Debbie, and they were a big help to us, guiding us and just getting us along with these projects. So I know there's big talk about the stage that we were building when we went. All right, so this is the stage. When we got there, they had already started it. These plastic forms went inside this big area, so we had to fill all this stuff with cement. So again, this stage went over there, kind of where they had it already. And we had to just finish it a little bit, put some more blocks back here, cut out the cement. Biggest difference here, everything is cement and cinder block compared to in the States, it's all wood frame. Cement and cinder block is a lot harder to deal with. So we cut this out, finish this area, and then the cement. 10 bags at a time on the floor, buckets of mixing and mixing and mixing. Yeah, everybody got their workout. I think you can see kind of this first picture on the left. Most people have their sweatshirts still on. It's very cold in a cement building in the morning, and within an hour, everybody's down in t-shirts. Everybody worked hard, which was amazing to see. Still had a smile on his face, wearing his Menards t-shirt. True. And then getting the cement up these platforms onto the stage with a wheelbarrow. Obviously, you're mixing cement on the floor, it gets slippery really quick. So this was the main big pour where we filled in all those black little igloos that they call them the first day. Got the wire mesh on top of it. The third day, we actually finished cementing the actual top with a lot smoother, thinner, nicer layer. That job was supposed to take us 10 hours, they said, and we got it done in about 3. So that was a huge, huge blessing just for the energy that we were given that day. A lot of work, high up areas, 2-story building. There's this big beam that used to have lights on it that we had to have wrapped in plastic. Omar very gingerly pushing his wife around on a lift. I didn't hear any complaining. And then these windows, there's a few windows, like 6 or 8 windows around the building that all had foam in them that had to be cut out, cleaned up, caulked. And then Omar's favorite job of the week, installing some other windows. I think he put in 5 or 6 windows, 9. And these windows are 6 foot tall. This one's pretty wide. Another window. And again, still a smile on his face after all week doing this. The entire building had no power. Holes, there were probably, I don't know, there's a lot of holes that were drilled or cut out by hand. And then we ran a lot of electrical wire as well. You can see all this green wire throughout the entire upstairs and downstairs. We were able to get wire run for them. Again, cleaning these windows. Another thing that we don't have good pictures of, but there's 4 rooms upstairs. We were able to get 3 of them primed and painted, the ceilings, and then able to get the lights finished and put up in those for them. This is a little video. Mind you, Keith is a missionary. He has no construction background at all, but this is what he does on a daily basis right now, is use a very large grinder just to cut holes in the walls for electrical boxes. And of course he's wearing his proper safety equipment. But this hole he started to cut, and then the only way to get it finished was with him and Devin both using hammer drills to try to chisel it out far enough. And just that one, it took them a couple hours. It was quite a while, and it wasn't just sitting around, it was work. This area, we were to properly stucco a wall. You can see how bad the wall is around here. This is the finished wall as we got around. Made it look a lot better for them. And then one of the biggest jobs that kind of, I don't know if it went unseen, but was just the cleanup that happened around the entire site. You are talking a construction site with a lot of guys that have construction experience, and it just gets messy. So there's a lot of hours spent just cleaning and throwing stuff away. We actually pulled all this wire out from underground, and we're able to, Keith was able to sell it and get money for it, so that was another big blessing for him. And then at the end of the week, the four of us decided to fit in a little Mini Cooper, which was a ride home, but still, end of the week, we're all smiling, we all had a great time. Just really can't thank the church enough, and thank Keith and Debbie for that experience for us. So I will hand it over to the three of them to share some thoughts and some experiences and some things on the trip. And then I'll close.
Oh, yeah. Sure. So yeah, what a blessing it was. So I had a couple of primary things that I had on my prayer list that you guys all helped very much to answer those prayers, but to pray for my family while I was gone. And so thank you for that, and thank you for being willing to help, be willing to help. But it's an answer to prayer that God was able to just help my family not be overwhelmed by my absence. And so it made being there much easier. And one of the things I was really worried about is my ability to do the work that was being done. I don't have very much construction experience at all. It's hit or miss, a few little random things. But I sit at a desk all day, so my back doesn't get used, my arms and shoulders don't get used very much, but I was really nervous about the amount of work that we were going to do. So the mixing was one thing, but we had to carry those bags from that picture here in this was right outside the church, the front entrance, but on skids, all of those bags of concrete were, and the bags of concrete weren't pre-mixed. They were coarse mixture in with another sack on the inside of the bag. So you had to cut all of them open, and then you had to pour them out. Then you had to pre-mix the concrete on the floor. Then you had to incorporate the water. And so it was a lot, every batch. And that day before we went, the Wednesday where we did 10 bags, we had many batches to do. I don't think the amount was actually even noted, but we pre-staged the concrete on that day and the day before, and we put them in piles of 10s. And looking at them, we're like, wow, that's a lot of concrete. I could not believe that I was in such shock that after we finished the work, that my hands didn't hurt, my back didn't hurt. I could not believe God's hand in that he took what I was worried about and just I made it non-existent. I mean, I got one little small blood blister on my left hand, and that was it. I didn't have barely any calluses even. And that whole Wednesday and a couple of other days, my primary job was to mix the concrete on the floor, and we kind of tag team. We went in and out, but I don't think I was strong enough to wheel the wheelbarrow up the ramp. But yeah, so I mixed concrete and open bags, and then mixed concrete and then open bags, and it was just like, so we had to move them by hand from this alley into there, and then once we were done with the 3 skids of bags of concrete out here, we then grabbed them from the garden area and did the same thing. And we had 1 wheelbarrow and a dolly, right? Oh, when the wheels on that dolly got a lot of work. We would load it up, Matt would hold on to it, and I would put the bags on there, and it was like, you should do 2 more, okay. And we put them on there, and the wheels were like wobbling. It had so much weight on it, but yeah, this was something, I'm glad we had this picture in here. I remember at one point Keith said, I would never have been able to do this job because it's hard to see, but we pulled it out of this area right here. There was all these little access panels, and they were at some points at 90-degree angles, so that we went in there and we cut them, and then we pulled them, and some of them go the whole length of the building, and so he was like, I don't know how I was going to be able to do this without your help. Well, Matt reached in there, and I just was like helping Matt behind him, and he just pulled it, and then I was the guy that just like kind of pulled behind it. But it was just like, I couldn't believe how many foot of wire. But so our ability to work together was another one I had on my prayer list, is how were we going to do, the 4 of us? But how are we going to do in the bigger group, right? And so Matt had mentioned that there was 3 church members that helped, or 2 church members and a friend, but there was also the tradesmen that were there, the electrical contractor and the general contractor, which we saw one time when we were there. He was not present to work while we were there, so Keith was the person that guided us in projects, and he used his phone 99% of the time. Oh, what do you think about this? Hey, Matt wants to do this. Oh, yeah, yep, contractor says that's okay. Oh, yeah, pull the wire down. Yep, sounds good. So it was great to be able to work together. I don't know if they didn't want to be around when we were working, but we were able to move forward. And a lot of things that were hurdles in the beginning, Matt can't pull he's electrical, that's what he does for a living. Well, he can't do this. Well, he can't do that. Well, a couple of days in, it was like, well, what do you think of if Matt did this? Oh, hold on, let me ask. Yeah, says it's okay. And then he came and looked at it, and sure enough, they were able to do that. So it was good to be able to work together with them, but it was such a blessing that things that were a hurdle in the beginning, by the end of the project, we were able to pull all that wiring. That saved a lot of time for the actual electrical tradesmen to come in and really just set up things. But that was one thing. Yeah, the holes in the ceiling was one of the things that I did the first day by hand. That was interesting. I had a little template, and I just drew that on the ceiling, and then I pushed the scaffolding over, and I did the same thing, and so room by room by room, it got done, and it was new for me. It was new for my shoulders. My shoulders haven't seen that much of a workout with my hands above my head. The reason this was so hard is the concrete. There were some walls that were those red brick walls, Those ones were really easy because they were hollow. But this one was an exterior wall, and it was reinforced concrete. So what you saw Keith doing is he was using a circular saw, actually a concrete saw, to cut the rebar that was in the wall. So, yeah, it was sorry, I'm trying. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. I won't talk about pictures that you guys want to talk about. Windows. One of the things that we were concerned about when we all started meeting with Keith was, should we bring tools? Well, we had talked to some people like Jason, and they were like, I don't know, traveling, you never know if you'll be able to get them through customs, and they said, nah, don't do it. We got plenty of tools, and we get on the job site and we're like, what are we cutting these bags open with? Oh, whatever we could find that was sharp. I mean, we had a razor blade that, one of those razor blades that pulls up. It was all the way out, so the blade was like 4 inches long, and we're like, should I be using this? Well, I guess it's the only thing I have, you know. So tools, we were able to bless them with tools. We went to the hardware store almost every day. So we were at the same, do you guys remember the name of it? I was trying to, Leroy Merlin. It was like a kind of like a combination of IKEA and Home Depot. Like everything was on display, and so you wanted to look around, but after like the third day, you were like, yeah, I don't really want to go to the hardware store anymore. But working with Ilya, we got to do some metal work in this room on the windows. But a lot of the windows, like this, again, I don't want to steal Omar's thunder here, but I got to help Ilya on this one. And Ilya spoke a little bit of English, but we took this door, this whole thing is one piece. We took that thing off and put it on like sawhorses, and then we put it on, and then we took it off, and then he drilled some more metal, and then after a while I was like, okay, I think I know what I got to do here. Okay, so I'd hand him the tools, you know, and he, rather than him get down from the ladder, I would just hand them to him. But it was great to be able to work next to some trades. You know, that's not something I get to do, so I enjoyed it. All the windows that Debbie's up on this second floor, none of those windows were there because it was a nightclub. They wanted it to be dark. So we kind of had a running joke that was like, it's a light club now because there's a lot of light in there, you know. So, but I don't want to talk forever because I can. But one of the things that I really found really awesome was Keith was just, I mean, he has been doing this for months. He has been doing it for 7 straight months, every day, coming and working at this with no skill set, okay? And we were kind of joking around, well, Keith, you know, if your missionary work doesn't, you know, pan out for you in the long run, you definitely got plenty of experience being in construction. You could stay in Italy and just do work, right? And but it was just amazing to see every day his willingness to just follow what God had for him that day. And every day we were met with challenges. To see him endure that and to just keep moving on, it encouraged me. You want to try stucco? Sure, I guess, you know. And he was, you know, doing what he could. Hey, you want to use this jackhammer? I've never used one before. Oh, yeah, you know. So really all God, I think, had for me is that I was just willing to go. And I was willing to listen and work alongside whoever was going to give me the knowledge to do what we were going to do. And I think that's all he asked for us to be is willing to go and work and to work alongside Keith. I think it encouraged him. And so I really was glad that we could be around his family and that we were able to stay with them. It was just good to be able to talk with him every day and just enjoy building relationships with him and his family. So that's what I wanted to share. So, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm probably not going to change any pictures there, but one of the buonasera is good evening in Italian, so I just thought I'd say that to you right now. That was one of the things that I had fun with when I was there, was just trying to get Spanish to sound like Italian. And it doesn't, right? But it worked. It worked the whole time I was there. I was able to really talk to Mario and Rosario, and particularly Aaliyah. That was hard because he did speak very little English, but I had to really try to speak construction with him, and that was a challenge. But that is, I mean, let me start from probably what I really wanted to start with, and to say was probably the most impact. I think that was something Larry wanted us to share the most, was the impact that it had on us, or my life per se. And I went to Guatemala once with the church, and this years back. And my impact there was, I just didn't realize how much a missionary worked. It was one man with a bunch of boys there, and I was just shocked at all the work he did. So then we came here, to Milan, and I knew Keith and Debbie from being here. And I thought to myself, well, what's going to change? I know them already, what can it be? And then what I ended up seeing was two people together working as one, putting in as much effort as what I saw in Guatemala from one man twice over. Those two work as hard as anybody I know. I was really surprised at not so much their expectation, which was just waiting on what God would provide with them, but just to see them smiling, laughing. Debbie missed her calling. She should be driving race cars. If you go visit her, be prepared. That's all I warn. There's nothing else I could say about Debbie other than the driving. But those two working together were something to see, and it was something that I was wondering how God would bless me to see. It really helped me think about me and Ann when we get together and do things like that, and just watch them. I'll go to the house, like when we got to Milan, they came, picked us up. It was raining, and I think I could speak for all of us, is that it rained every day when we were there, and we could have worn a rain jacket to bed and woke up and we still would have been wet. So it just rained every day. So, but we came to their home. We sat down, ate, met Sophia, Luca, and Chiara, the kids. Sophia was the one that was always at home because she can't drive. So if she was able to drive, she probably wasn't around. But she was there. And we got to know her, and it was just nice to see the family dynamic, to see how they all worked with the church. My favorite day was, I think you guys might have seen it. Larry might have shown that video of them singing hymns in Italian. That blew me away when I was there. I just enjoyed hearing it, hearing songs that I sang, hearing it in another language. I was overwhelmed when I was sitting there listening. The people there, we sat down, we talked to a couple. There's a young man named Dragos, and then his wife, I think her name was Eliza, I believe, or Lisa. They were wonderful, just listening to them, talking to them a little bit about the church. They asked us a lot of questions. They just kept thanking us over and over again for coming so far away to come help. They didn't even see what we did. We hadn't even started, and they were thanking us for being there. And I thought that was the appreciation when we were at the church was wonderful. There was another young lady from Romania. Ann will probably talk about her. She was another wonderful encouragement, just to hear her speak about things, about the church and how much God has worked in her life there, and Keith and Debbie and all the people, and just knowing that Keith and Debbie started that church plant, knowing what they did and how God helped them do it, and then how they found this building that they were in currently, which is like in a little strip mall, is where it was, and it was full. It was packed to the brim when we were there. All seats were taken. Some people were sitting in the back, which I know they don't normally sit back there, and I think they were. And you could tell they were just bursting at the seams, and that's why this building is going to be great. They were what Keith and Debbie reminded me of a little bit more also is how God's in control. When we were there, we prayed about, and that was one of my prayer requests, was good health. And we had the long flights, the rain, the cold, all the dust and everything else that we did, and none of us got sick. And I was concerned about my breathing and my allergies that I get, and I didn't, nothing. I could feel your prayers when I was there. I don't know if we mentioned that before, but just getting on the plane, I just felt something leaning on my chest, and I felt good. I don't know, I don't want to be, sound crazy or anything like that, but it did. It was something different when I went. And I immediately told Ann that I just felt the prayers were just coming down from everywhere. Tammy and Mike, encouragement that you guys did for us, because I was thinking, what's the church thinking about today about what we're doing? Tammy and Mike were one of the things that they did for us. They just gave us little note cards with verses on them. I thought that was wonderful. I read them every day. I know Matt, Devin got them. We just read our verse. Every morning Ann would give them to us, and we would look and read. And I think Mike's here. I was hoping to kind of embarrass him because he wrote a verse down that wasn't found in the Bible. It was a chapter with no verse that doesn't exist. But it was funny, he just miswrote it. But it didn't matter. It had a message, and it talked about being godly and about being open and allowing God to work in your life. God's will is what that verse was that day. My other prayer request that I was really concerned about, which I felt in Guatemala, was the spiritual warfare part. I never felt it in Italy. I honestly felt that God was keeping us from that happening as much as things could have happened. For example, when Devin mentioned going to the hardware store, there were times that we were like, we aren't going to get this done or whatever it was. And then before you know it, we found what we needed. We got what we needed. We got it the next day, and it was able to be done. Mario, who worked with us, and Rosario, they planned things with Keith so well. Everything fell just very well, even though there was one day Keith locked us out. Not intentionally, and you have to lock the building, but he had the only key, and he was taking one of his daughters, it was Chiara, to get her license to be able to drive to ride a motorcycle on her own, not like a permit, no permit, and then she could have someone else with her. But Keith had the key, and he couldn't come, and he wouldn't answer, and Debbie didn't know, and nobody knew, so we worked downstairs. We found things to do, and we got a whole bunch of stuff done that morning, and it was just, there were things like that we could have just all sat there, maybe grumbled, probably gone to the corner and gotten more coffee. That was probably the big temptation that we didn't need, was that coffee place on the corner. But and then the church's prayers that they had, we noticed at least a little bit what they told us, and I won't. Maybe Ann might talk about this as well a little bit, but I will mention that the giving that they had on the wall, a thermometer, and then the giving increased when we were there. That was something really nice, and there were just so many things that you saw. The food that they gave us when we were there at the church, they served food. We were running out of bread, and this is how I felt God was working every day. That's why I enjoyed it so much on that Sunday. There was a lady there. She goes, I got bread, and she says it in Italian, and I didn't know what she was saying. Her name was Maria. She was sitting next to me. She just got up, went outside. I thought, oh, okay, and didn't think anything of it. She comes back in with a basket full of bread for like 80 people, and she pulled it out of her car. And I'm like, what's going on? I mean, who carries 80 things of bread and it just shows up? I mean, Jesus fed the 5,000, but this isn't Jesus, it's Mary or Maria. But anyway, that was something that also kind of really touched me, the way they were just so nice, and the hospitality. Sometimes you hear that, foreigners don't like Americans or something like that, right? And the Italians, everyone in the country, they were so friendly. They wasn't like that at all. I knew that, Sam. Thank you. And then the last thing I'll go over, I think I'm going to the last thing I'll say is about the prayer requests for Veritas, the church. Pray for their congregation, for members. There are people that are stepping forward to want to help there. We need to pray for a little bit more on that. They do struggle with that at the church. The church is young. It's very young. There are some older people there, like you saw, but mostly young folks, and they work. And have families, and sometimes it can be hard to want to or to help in the church. And they have people that do. Dragos was one of them. We met. Trying to remember the name of the pastor that's going to take over. Paulo's another one that Keith couldn't stop talking good about him. I got to shake his hand at least and talk to him for briefly. He was very busy because he led the service on that Sunday. But that people and young folks like that were being mentored are starting to come forward. So we need to keep praying for that on the church. Pray for Keith and Debbie on their next calling. They're looking. Keith is telling us that the Lord keeps putting on his heart to start another church plant. He wants to go up towards the Lake Como area, it's about 45 minutes away. There are church members that drive the 45 minutes to an hour. Actually, the lake is 45 minutes, but the church members that attend the church are over an hour away, and they come every Sunday. And it's 50 plus miles or 75 something kilometers, whatever it may be. It's far. I'm surprised how far they come. And then just to be for the third one would be for the wisdom of the leadership. When Keith goes, he had mentioned that to myself as well. Just the church being led by folks their own members. So there's Matt and Devin covered a lot. That the church was just a blessing to my heart when it comes to just what it did for me as far as thinking about what could I do here. I just to be active in my own church like that, and then to go over there. I mean, I'm excited. I would go to another missions trip just to do something like that again easily. But that was just me for myself. So I thank you for the prayers. I really appreciated it. I felt it the whole way through. So I'm gonna let Ann go.
Hello, my name is Anne, and thank you so much for the opportunity to go to Italy and serve and be with these guys. We had an awesome time, and it was just so cool to see God work in just really unexpected ways. We had just no idea how God was going to work. We got to the church, like Omar said, and people were just coming up to us, thanking us, and we saw just the church being spurred on by just us being there. Like Omar said, money started coming in from the church members there, and we saw the thermometer rising, and we stopped working on Friday, and that Saturday they had a church work day, and they said they hadn't had very many people come from the church at all, and there were several people that came to work. And then Keith and Debbie sent us pictures of the work that they had done, and they had gotten so much stuff done. So it was just an encouragement to see that we spurred the church on. So I had lots of prayer requests before I left, and I was just worried about a lot of different things, and God just took care of everything, of course, because that's what he does. So one prayer request that I had was that I'd be able to share the gospel with somebody. I didn't know how that was going to look. I don't speak Italian. But I was just like, Lord, just give me an opportunity. And we got on the plane from Grand Rapids to Chicago, and the Lord ordained who I sat next to, of course. And there was a young gal, her name was Bethany, and she was running away from home. And I, of course, talked with her, and, I love working with teenagers and young girls. And anyway, I talked to her about God and Jesus and her relationship, and she knew Jesus, and that's how she was raised, but she was running away from home because she didn't get along with her mom anymore. And so we had just a really nice long conversation, and was able to pray with her. And then I got on my phone because she was going to LA, because that's where all of her dreams are going to come true. And so I got on my phone and I started texting several people that I know in LA, the Deliverance boys, John and Rich Deliverance, and asked them, what church do you guys go to? And they immediately texted me back, gave me all of the information of churches that they go to, resources for her, and she had a notepad, and she wrote everything down. So, and she took my phone number. I have not heard from her, but I know that, I did what I was supposed to do. So I was very thankful just for that opportunity to just pray with her and, share God with her, remind her of her faith, because it sounded like she had, she knew what she should be doing. So that was the first thing. So then we have a great flight. Everything went good, and I was able to sleep. That was kind of the joke. I could sleep anywhere. I don't know why, but I could sleep anywhere. And I was concerned, too, because I'm not an early person. These guys are insane. They wake up really early. I go to bed really late. My teenagers just left the house, this year. So I'm on a teenager schedule. But time was kind of relative there. So I was able to wake up with these guys and do the work. I did not do the cement work. You did not see. You wonder how they got those great pictures. I was up on the scaffolding taking pictures of them. So they were just doing really a lot of hard work. I did a lot of work myself, but I was mainly doing priming in the classrooms, caulking windows, things like that. But when we landed, we had 2 cars that picked us up. We had Debbie and Keith. So Keith took the guys, and then Debbie took me with her daughter. Well, her daughter wasn't there yet. But immediately, Debbie shared her heart with me and what she was going through as a mom. And once again, I'm like, Lord, this is why you have me here. So I was just able to encourage her and, share with her what I had been through, because, I had been through very similar things with my girls, and just to encourage her and pray with her. So, and that would just set up the stage for the whole week. So lots of great times with Debbie. The guys would go do their things sometimes early in the morning, and Debbie and I would go to the Home Depot and, pick out colors or pick out different things that we had to pick out for the church for design and different things like that. But one thing that really encouraged me was just seeing Debbie and Keith and their obedience to God's calling on their life. Keith was like, yeah, this is my next step. My next step is to build another church, to start another church. And there was no question. It was like, this is what God has told me to do, and this is what I'm doing. He doesn't know any of the details. So just being encouraged by his obedience to God's calling on his life. And that was one thing even with this missions trip, we could have all said no. There's so many things that could, deter us from going. But, when God opens a door, I was just encouraged. I need to say yes. If I see that door being opened, I need to be obedient to God's calling on my life. Omar talked about talking to we had a really cool fellowship after the church service, and I got to talk to a lot of the people from the church there. And they found out, I sell houses. But one thing really cool that I learned is that when they sell a house, that they don't leave their kitchens or bathrooms. They take their kitchens and their bathrooms with them. So they take all of their cabinets, all of their countertops, their sinks, and that was mind-boggling to me. So you would see, in people's patios, it doesn't always fit. The cabinets don't always fit from one house to the next. So in people's patios, you see kitchen cabinets stored. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. So just different things. But we were really encouraged by the people of the church, and they just really spurred us on, and we spurred them on. Anything else?
I don't mean to jump back there. Prayer requests. Yeah, I missed that one. So prayer requests for the church. So we mentioned they had kids. So their oldest is Luca, and he is, I think, 19, 18. So they go. High school is actually 5 years, so they go an extra year. And Luca is hoping to move back to the United States and live with his uncle, and to do construction. So that would definitely be. It's definitely something that it seemed like it worried Keith that he wanted to do construction, but yet had not done much construction with the construction project his family had. So it definitely a prayer for them that that he would find himself. It just didn't seem like Luca didn't really know what he wanted to do, but that you could pray for him. And then while we were there, Omar mentioned it, but Kiara, their middle daughter, just got her moped license. So we were praying for that because that was her third attempt at getting that. And if that didn't work out, she would have to go back to square one. And so that would have been a discouragement for her, but also it would be a financial burden for Keith and Debbie because the course costs $1,000 for her to get that license. So that was cool that we were able to pray for that for her. She got it, but that means that she can now take her sister with her. But that was something that they were worried about because Luca had been in several moped accidents. And when we were talking about the moped, how fast does a moped go? Oh, I don't know, Luca, how fast does it go? Well, I've gotten up to 120 kilometers downhill. It was like, Keith was like, wow, I didn't know it went that. I've never gone that fast. It was, so he had been in a few accidents. And the area that they live in, it's quite a different neighborhood. They live in a neighborhood. It's like a gated, I don't want to say gated community. Like you don't have a gate to get in, but you have a gate to get into your house. So you have to unlock the gate to get in and whatever. But so it was a nice area. I had jet lag, so I walked around the neighborhood, and I asked Debbie. I said, "Is it okay if I walk around the neighborhood?" Oh yeah, no problem. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. No one was out. One guy running, and he ran past me like 4 times. He's probably, where the heck is this guy following me? But the area where Luca likes to hang out is not a nice area, and a lot of people. Keith mentioned this to me. He said, "Well," Luca said, "Well, Dad, do you want me to have friends?" And he said, "Yeah." Well, these are the only friends around, and a lot of them are in gangs and different things, and so that was definitely, I think, something that I think I'd share with you guys, that to be praying for Luca, and that he would follow after Christ, and not just to have friends. So, yeah, that's a couple of things I thought of.
So they've kind of hit on a little bit about what Keith and Debbie's future plans are. But on Tuesday, Keith and I were standing up on that ledge kind of where Debbie is. And from that ledge, if you turn around, you can see an apartment complex, which is where they lived when they originally came to town. So for them to kind of have that view, he got a little emotional. We talked about being sent out as a missionary. What's your goal? And it's to go somewhere to teach the gospel, to grow a church, and to build leadership up within that church, and then have a successful church. And he's there almost once they get this church built. And he was so excited for the next chapter. Like he's been planning it for months. I mean, he knows that the end is near here, and they're ready to move on. So to see that progression in the missionaries' lives, I think as a church that supports them, we should be very proud of ourselves for our continued support of them, and knowing that we have missionaries that are going to the field and doing what they've been called to do by God. And I know our group just thanks you guys so much for the Christmas missions, giving us the finances and the church the finances to send us over there. I know we were a blessing to them. And if other projects like this come up, I think Devin kind of said it, don't think you can't go. There's so much work there that can be done. We had that discussion the last day. Who else would we have liked to have come on this trip? And there was a handful of names that were like, man, this person would have done this great here. And it's just that much more that we could have got done by more people saying yes. So don't ever hesitate. If you're asked to go, it's such a blessing. Are there any questions? About 5 minutes. 5 minutes, yeah. Maybe 10. So the church they're in now is kind of told it's, you pull into a parking lot and there's just a massive 2-story strip mall, but the top is like apartment buildings, and there's a car dealership. You gotta go around the corner, and then there's just this little sign that says Veritas, and it's a single door entrance, and the entire church is maybe 3/4 of this room, and they're fitting 120 people in there every Sunday. And this new building should fit 300-ish. So, yeah. So Paulo has been the lead elder of Veritas for a little while now. He is who they're planning on having take over. He does have some reservations. Once Keith leaves, he does lean on Keith for quite a bit right now. Paulo's currently a banker. So they're still working on that transition, but that's who they would like. And I'm sure Keith will be available for them. They're not going to move out of Zebido. Keith and Debbie will not, so they'll still be very close. But yes, they do have somebody. So they will be here the entire month of August. There will be a night in Italy at West Cannon, Forest Hills. That'll be the main time you can see them. Yep, they will not be in this church actually. Paulo will be here for that, yes. Yep. Yep. Aaron? Hopefully within the next 3 months. And by the looks of pictures that they've sent us since then, it'll probably be 2 months from now. Aaron?
And how the other locals feel about how much hostility, if any, is there to this Protestant church in Northback, church back there?
So Sunday when we were having dinner, we had a little discussion with some of the guys about what it's been like to become a Christian. And a lot of them honestly get disowned from their family, in short words. There were a handful of people that just stopped and to see what was going on at that building, because like I said earlier, it's been sitting vacant for 5 years. So a lot of people stopped, came, wanted to know what was going on, what was going in this building. And I don't think anybody was really hostile. The only real hostility we saw was Keith getting yelled at for keeping his car on the road, but that was just minor. But yeah, no real hostility. A lot of just questions and interest. It's in a very public place, so it's going to be nice for them. Larry? You may have a better answer to this, Larry. I do not know what training is going on with him. I know there is training, but what exactly, I'm not sure. He'll talk about that later.
One other question.
Yes.
Are the people looking forward to having their own national leader, or are they looking at this transition as a rundown for them?
With Paulo having the hesitation, there are others that have the hesitation. Luckily, for the past 4 months, Keith has not been preaching at all. His primary and sole focus is on this church. It's 6 days a week, 10-hour days, and then he goes to church on Sunday. So Paulo has been the main person there. And anybody that you talk to, that we've talked to, when we ask him, well, what's drawing you to the church? What's drawing you to church? And it's not the relationships. It's not, oh, my friend goes here or whatever. It's the preaching. So what's being said on that pulpit on a Sunday morning is what needs to be said on that pulpit. So I think that's, yeah. Any other questions? Yes. There is a church on the other side, south side other side of Milan. There was, so when they first moved into Rosano, where this was, there was another church in the area that they started attending before they started up their home church, and that has since closed. But there is another, there are a few, but the main one that he told us about was kind of on the other south side of Milan. Nothing as big as what they are, from what I understand. It is. And there's a very large Catholic place in downtown Milan. Do not call it a church if you're referring to the Catholic facility.
Okay. I don't have anything. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for going, and you thank us for praying for you and sending you. Thank you for going. Thank you that we could be a part of you going and praying for you. And what a blessing to hear from you guys. Anne got me emotional because so she's talking about unexpected, how God works. And I'm talking with Keith before and trying to plan this and plan money and who's going and different gifts. And he was saying we're going to have this this team that comes out way later that's going to be a whole bunch of people and teenagers, and we're not expecting to get a lot done. We could really use some really good gifted workers that come out. So I'm thinking construction workers. I'm thinking, people that are at our church that, I'm like, man, Keith, God has blessed us with men that know how to use their hands. I'm not one of them, but there's several at our church, and this is so exciting. So those are the people I'm praying for and asking and talking through. And Ann and Omar just come up and they're like, we flip houses and we do stuff like this all the time together. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Why did I not think of that? And absolutely, yes, we want you to go. And I just started thinking through of all of what God could do. And then he exceeded my expectations of you ministering to Deb. Wow, God is good. God is good. And he can use us to further gospel ministry and to encourage his saints on the other side of the world. And God's kingdom goes forth, right? The gates of hell will not prevail against it. What a blessing. And I just want to share one quick thing, and I have a video for you guys. The thing that was so exciting for me of what I was praying for in this is, since Pastor Bob and I have really come together and been unified and wanting to see missions be more of an emphasis at our church, I've been praying for multiple things, but one of them is caring more for our missionaries that we already have. We want to get to know them. We got to know what's going on. We got to get people on the field, and that will really just build a fire in the hearts of the people at KBC. So I've been praying and praying and praying, and I was praying for all four of you for years before you went on this trip, and I just didn't know it was you. And God raised up these four individuals, and they went, and I'm praying, Lord, let them be unified, let them connect with this church planting missionary in this Veritas church, and let them come back and be the mouthpiece at KBC for what's going on, and let their hearts lead the hearts of our people. And they come back, and God has answered my prayer. And I want to share, they have started a WhatsApp conversation with the missionaries over there, and they're texting each other every day. It's the most amazing thing. They really love each other, and they're really interacting. And when the Joneses come back in August, they've already got a date set aside where we're going to get together with just you guys on that day, and we're going to have a day together, and we're going to go get cheese of all things. Like, I'm reading these because I can't jump in. I don't know what to say. I wasn't on the trip. And what a blessing to go and to be used of God and use the gifts that he's given to you to really strengthen the church, the body. And because of this, gospel work is going forth. And God is good. Say it again. God is good. So thank you for going. Thank you for being willing, for working hard, and for ministering to the Joneses. They love you guys. Keith has told me several times he loves you guys. I don't talk with Debbie a lot. I know she loves you. Devin too. But so I contacted him just telling him how impressed I was at seeing that, and said, we'll end our time with Keith talking to you guys and talking to our whole church family. So we have about a 5-minute video that Keith just sent us over. Can we play that?
Hello, friends of Kentwood Baptist Church. It's good to be able to send this greeting from the southern part of Milan, Rozzano. And as you can see, I'm standing in the front area of the new building that God has provided for us. Behind me, you can see the stage area with the baptistry that Matt, Omar, Devin, and Ann will remember well. And yeah, I guess I'll just start there by saying thanks to the team and to all the church for that contribution, sending the team coming. And we know there was a lot that went into making that happen on all levels, church mobilization, funds being allocated for that. So we just can't say thank you enough. We know that you're spending some specific time dedicated to praying for us, for the work, and we can't thank you enough for that. We need your prayers. It's not an overstatement to say that prayers have accomplished what we see here, which is a big part of what God is doing to further the gospel, his kingdom here in Milan. And we are just so thankful to have your prayers for us. I guess I'll just leave you with some prayer requests to bring before the Lord as you consider the Joneses, Veritas, the Denuncio family. We really have a big prayer request to put before you and to ask you to bring before the Lord, and that is that we can actually come into this space this summer, hopefully before June. That is what we are shooting for. There's some bureaucratic things that need to come together, and so we need to get different things lined up, electrical certifications, plumbing certifications, and that sort of thing. But we're confident that we have the wind of God's blessing at our back. We've had some good conversations with the town already, with the architect, to make us think that we'll be able to see things happening and developing hopefully quickly. But that is our request, that Veritas can relocate to this space before the summertime. Pray for that transition process for the church, that the church can walk through all the phases under God's hand, under God's blessing, that everybody can experience the unity that we all want to see to make this big step happen. We need God's grace for every detail, so we just pray that the families, the young people, the individuals, across the board, that the church as a whole can make this transition smoothly. Things not related to the building, pray for our upcoming trip. We're coming to the States, to the Grand Rapids area specifically, mostly with Paolo Di Nunzio, my fellow elder, that the team was able to meet. And pray that this trip can be a success in the sense that Paolo can make progress towards reaching that goal that he has of becoming the full-time pastor of Veritas Church, initially with help from supporting churches, and then ultimately that Veritas can support their own pastor. So pray for this, pray for the trip. August 24th, we're having this focus on Italy evening. We hope Kentwood can send some representatives. We'll be having that at Forest Hills Baptist Church. Pray for that event where Paolo will be sharing his heart. I'll be sharing about the ministry as well. And then other requests, maybe more on a personal level. Pray for me as I seek to balance my role as pastor, as a worker here with the building project. I'm slowly going to be moving back into full-time pastoral role as I've been focusing a lot of my attention here on the works, but I still need to balance those things out. And of course, the same goes for Debbie, who's been so active with the project and also keeping the ministry responsibilities going as well. So be in prayer for those things. And then pray for Paolo, lastly, working full-time. Doesn't allow him to give all the attention and all the energy that he would like to the ministry. It's a specifically stressful time. Now his job is requiring quite a bit of attention, so just be in prayer for him. Before I sign off, I guess I'll just give a little bit of a 360 view here of the building. We have painted, as you all can see, and what's left now is to put the tiling on. Here you can see that the floor has been leveled out, and same is true for the lobby area back there, where the floor has been flattened so that we're ready for the tiling to happen next. So with that said, I'll sign off and just reiterate for the last time our gratitude for your partnership in the ministry here, and we look forward to seeing all of you in August. We'll be reaching out in any case to be able to be in touch with you all, our dear friends at Kentwood.
So the WhatsApp only allows you a certain amount of time to make a video, apparently, so it cut out on him. So the finish is Kentwood Baptist Church, if you didn't know that. So should I redo it? No, you're fine. That's good. So what a blessing. So to answer a last question about Keith and Debbie's hearts of going and planting this church and raising up leadership, it has been done from within. So it's Paulo, and there's actually 2 other younger men who are going through their program, and they're raising up leaders from within. And this is a church that has the same heart of the leadership of our church. We want to get involved in this, okay? We are involved in this. Let me rephrase that. We want to stay involved in what's going on here, right? So we're going to close our time now and just get in small groups. Get in small groups with those around you, and we're just going to pray. So we've been given several prayer requests. Let's pray. Let's continue to be fervent in prayer. God has worked, as Keith said, because his people are praying. So we're going to keep committing to that, and we're going to see God work. For more information about the August stuff that's going on while they're here, you can see me later, and we can discuss different things. But let's go to the Lord in prayer.